Hello everyone, my hair is looking lovely today. As always, in this video, we are just going to look at a way that logic can be used in day-to-day life, and at the end, I'm going to give you an exercise to take into your life and go do a practical exercise that you can go do in your day-to-day life, because I think a lot of videos give you some information and then tell you to have a good day, and it's hard to take what they've told you and go practice anything, go actually implement what you've been told. I think Struthless does it quite well. So I'm going to hopefully try and give you a thing that you can take into your life and practice in a realistic way. So this mic is huge. I've got to get a smaller one. So we're going to try and approach things logically. A lot of what Sherlock Holmes is famous for is the scientific method, the using of logical reasoning, and his memory is paying attention. And there's a lot of that. A lot of what logic does, if you're able to utilize logical thinking, is it strips away a lot of the superfluous things. A lot of times you're like, what do I think? But logic isn't about what you think. It's about what's true. And so if you're wondering what a word means, maybe you're wondering, okay, I want to use this word in a more sophisticated way in a sentence. Are you going to analyze how other people use it? Maybe. But the best thing to do would be to go look in the dictionary, and then if you use the word and anybody opposes your use of that word, you can pull out the dictionary and you can simply say, I used it correctly. And that's, in a nutshell, what logic is. It's using something correctly. It's not being right. Being logical reasoning isn't about being right. It's about doing your best to be true. There's a whole definition rabbit hole that I will go down for sure in a future video. But for now, I'm just going to present you with an example. The best place that I find to use logic and logical reasoning is in a problem. If you have a problem to solve, no matter how small, pulling out your logical hat is useful. Because often when a problem shows up, people will get mired in the emotion of the problem, the how do I feel, how do you feel of the problem, and all these little sidetracks and diversions from the fact that maybe the problem is not that hard to solve, and all you need to do is sit for a moment and think about what is the best course of action. And so this is an opportunity when a problem arises to try and put away the people-pleasing and the emotional part of yourself, and not that you have to be rude to other people and be like, oh, I'm right, I'm being logical, and you must listen to me. That's not what it's about. It's about what is the best course of action, and maybe the most logical way to solve your problem is to go on Reddit and see what other people have done about the same problem. It's not necessarily that you have to be so smart and solve this problem because you're such a good logical reasoner. The most logical thing to do might be to call someone and ask them, hey, what would you do? Have you had to deal with this before? You might call a mechanic because you have car trouble. You wouldn't necessarily try and be logically reasoning your car apart, but you could call a mechanic, or you could look up a video about someone who knows how to pull apart your car and see how they would do it, and then follow those steps. Sometimes the most logical thing to do is to just ask for help. And so this is the exercise that I need you guys to do this week. I'm giving you the task of, when you're out, especially at work is always a safe space to be a little more cold and distant, unless you work public service, like a coffee shop or whatnot. That's a little more difficult to just be logical all the time. But I would challenge you to, at one point this week, take your time when a problem arises and think about how this problem can be solved. And if your emotions are getting in the way, then do your best to look up how someone else has solved this problem. And don't just rely on your own intelligence to try and give you the answer in some way. And if you do know the answer, or maybe you know where to start looking for the answer, then go on a Google search, go on a rabbit hole search to try and find. But remember, this is rooted not in hearsay or in people's opinions, but in the truth. So focus on that. Remember to focus on finding the truth. Okay, thank you everyone. Have a good day. Goodbye.